Cowboys introduced their new head coach, Jerry Jones. Certainly felt like that. It felt like it was Jerry Jones being introduced as the head coach instead of Brian Schottenheimer. Shotty, as they like to call him. The Raiders introduced Pete Carroll. The Jags introduced Liam Coen. And the Jets said hello to Aaron Glenn. We'll look at all four of these situations. I look at the quarterbacking situations with all four of these coaches because let's start with Aaron Glenn. He's not sure if Aaron Rodgers is going to be his quarterback. He said he's kind of open discussions, talking to Aaron. But, I mean, next week, maybe you make a decision. You got to get a decision here soon. But what's your backup option there for the Jets and Aaron Glenn? Liam Coen goes from Baker Mayfield Jr. III to taking over the Jags and Trevor Lawrence. Would appear to be in a pretty good position to maybe revitalize him just like he did with Baker Mayfield. The Raiders with Pete Carroll. Feels like Sam Darnold is on the front burner here. Got to get your quarterback now. As I said when Pete was when it was announced that he got the job, I said, what about Russell Wilson here? Because if I'm the Steelers, I'm looking at Justin Fields moving forward, not Russell Wilson. But I have no idea what Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith are planning on. It would help if you got a couple of weapons, no matter who the quarterback's going to be. But I might see Russ available for reuniting with Pete Carroll. Cowboys situation, Brian Schottenheimer, who didn't call the plays last year, but is going to call the plays now as the head coach, and he's stuck with Dak Prescott and that contract. That's $231 million for a 32-year-old quarterback who is injury-prone. So he's a good quarterback. Dak is probably the best option of all of these quarterbacks. Maybe we see Trevor Lawrence live up to what I think everybody thought he was going to. Certainly that contract as well. But I'm looking at those situations, trying to figure out who's going into a good situation. Brian Schottenheimer, I think we know the situation he's going into. Aaron Glenn wanted the job. And if you look, Aaron Glenn is a former New York Jet, first-round pick, so he kind of knows the landscape there. The Jags with Liam Coen, I got to be honest, I didn't know much about him. I still don't know much about him. I'd still like to hear exactly what happened when you were entertaining this offer, going back to Tampa, telling Baker Mayfield you're coming back, and then all of a sudden you end up as the Jags head coach. I get it. I mean, I understand why you took the job. I don't know. The timeline's a little weird, and I guess I'm curious about that. But, what he's saying is basically, hey, then let's just move on. Here is Liam Coen on passing up and couldn't pass up this opportunity.
The opportunity to coach in Tampa was a phenomenal one, to get my feet wet in the NFL as the offensive coordinator, and I thank them so much for that opportunity. As you continue to do more research and gaining more information as you go, it started to become, more clear with every hour that this was an opportunity that you just can't pass up. And you ultimately want to do truly what's best for you and your family. And that's what this came down to.
Okay, let's do an emergency fill in the blank. After watching Liam Coen at his press conference yesterday, you get one word to describe him. Todd, Liam Coen is blank.
Corny?
Dylan.
Adorable.
Adorable.
All right.
Okay, I didn't have that on my bingo card. Marvin.
Dorky.
Oh, Duval. Let me hear it.
Duval.
It had a little bit of, here's Johnny. Duval. Paulie?
Quirky in a good way.
Well, if he wins, then we forget about all of this stuff. I mean, I'm sure Jacksonville media, they're glad to have him, and let's go. Let's fix our quarterback, and let's get back into the postseason. Tampa Bay, still a little frosty of how that divorce happened. Divorce. Yes, Todd.
Do you not want your coach to come across a little intimidating in some way, shape, or form? If you're a fan of a team that wants to move to the next level, not that you got to be a jerk and nasty to the press, but there's got to be a middle ground.
Was he too nice for you? You wanted more of the Aaron Glenn, where Aaron Glenn's fiery?
I think I do. Because I'm pissed off. I want my team to, this is a joke all these years. It's time. I want my coach to be kind of angry and less silly, goofy looking.
All right. Here's Aaron Glenn, the Jets head coach yesterday.
Players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges, but with challenges gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this.
Who's with me? Come.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a podium pounder, and that bothers me.
Oh.
Yeah, Saban did that a little bit. I'm not hey, you're a podium pounder. Yes, Paulie.
That's your punctuation when you're a coach, the podium. Saban did that for years. I think that's
yeah.
like I'm ready to hit someone, but I can't, so I got to hit this piece of wood.
So, Fritzy, you like Aaron Glenn. You want to play for Aaron Glenn.
I want someone that says, bite kneecaps, not like massage them gently.
Okay.
That would be how I would say that.
All right. Dylan finds Liam Coen adorable. I'm guessing that would be an ideal quarterback or a coach for you.
Yeah, and I find Glenn saying we're the New York Jets, we're built for this. I don't think that's true.
Liam Coen, by the way, former college quarterback, I think at UMass, and actually had a really nice career there. Brian Schottenheimer, that's just a kind of I don't know how to describe that press. I've seen a lot of press conferences. I've attended a lot of press conferences with some of the biggest names who've ever coached. That's as weird as I've ever witnessed a press conference where it was a little bit about Brian Schottenheimer. It was a whole lot about Jerry Jones. A whole lot about Jerry. Brian Schottenheimer, remembering his father, Marty, he starts to cry. And it was like a nice moment. And then Jerry has to bring up that he, too, lost his dad. And then he started crying as well.
He hijacked it.
And I'm going, wait, did your dad just die, Jerry? No. It became like Jerry, it felt like Jerry was taking over the Cowboys as their head coach. It really did. And he kept, he was talking about this, that, I took a big risk on that. Like, it felt like Brian Schottenheimer wasn't there. But one of my favorite moments was when Stephen Jones, Jerry's son, the Cowboys president, had this to say.
Well, I think we, you always have to evaluate, where it didn't go right last year. And obviously, we're also evaluating where it didn't go right, in terms of, this drought that people say we're in terms of a championship game or a Super Bowl. And, we just have to continue to make this roster better.
He did air quotes around the word drought. It's real. He made it seem like, oh, you guys have brought up this drought. It's 30 years. That's a real drought. Yes, Todd.
What's people say we're in? All you got to do is look at the records of the last 30 years. It's there, like in black and white. But that's not a theory. That they actually did go to a couple of Super Bowls and we just all missed it. We were like Rip Van Winkle. We woke up and we missed some of the championships.
It's not a rumor that you haven't been to a Super Bowl. It's fact. I don't need a second source on this, Stephen. And the fact when he went air quotes with a drought, and I went, oh my God, are we delusional here? Yes, Dylan.
To put into perspective, that drought is older than I am. So if that helps you visualize it a little bit.
Yeah, Paulie.
You use air quotes when something isn't real. Like back when I was in jail. No, you were in jail, dude. You actually were in jail. You served time. Well,
My wife is pregnant. Yeah. Air quotes. No, she either is or isn't. Yes, Todd.
Chris Farley used to do a skit with air quotes, like when on the news segment. He'd go, people say I'm overweight, slovenly.
It was fascinating. It really was to watch that. And here's Jerry trying to convince you that he knows football. His dad taught him football. Hey, I took a risk on Schotty here. It was as if Brian Schottenheimer wasn't there. Here's Jerry on his comfort zone.
If you don't think I can't operate out of my comfort zone, you're wrong. It's unbelievable. This is as big a risk as you could take. As big a risk as you could take. No head coaching experience.
Okay. Why? He's motioning with Brian Schottenheimer with his thumb. Like, this guy, I took a risk. You didn't have to. Mike Vrabel's not a risk, or Ben Johnson, probably not a risk. But I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm going, you don't have to be. Hell, hire Dion. God. I mean, I know it's too late, but that would have made more sense of what the Cowboys have become. Like, I don't know what it is, but you got to watch it. It may be a car accident, and it's not pretty, but you're going to watch it. Then we got Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's fired up. Somebody said, hey, every time Pete mentions Tom Brady, you got to do a shot. I would have been hammered quickly. Here is Pete Carroll, the Raiders head coach.
He's been integrally involved, wherever I know that the process could allow him to be in. We haven't seen him. He's not been here. He's got a big job. But he has been a really exciting part of it.
Pete is a fast talker, by the way. Whenever we'd interview him, I'd be like, man, just slow down a little bit, Pete. But he's ready. He's got energy. Yes, Mark.
And a lot of times he's chewing gum, which makes it even harder to understand him.
Yeah. Pete, he's ready to go. His age is going to be mentioned just about every time they show Pete Carroll on TV. Was he the soon-to-be 74-year-old, the oldest coach in NFL history? I think, soon-to-be 74. Got to say that. It's a prerequisite when you tune into Raider games. Yes, Todd?
When he enthusiastically runs down the sideline, we got to worry if he's going to break his hip or something like that. They're going to have the interim come in week 3.
He's not going to have a walker. Yes, Paulie.
In week 3 next year, he'll be 74 years old.
All right. Okay.